This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pants Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Road Dogg Tino Gray, the badass Rob Potsy Potchak. That's right, the Potsy and Tino Show. I want to thank the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes for taking time out of his really busy schedule to sit there and do that podcast spot for us. You know, after winning the Royal Rumble, you know, it's kind of hard to get him on the telephone these days. But Tino, what a week it's been, man.
Yes, yes, it's been a wild one already.
Well, before we jump into what's up with you, you just hit me with the sad news. So
Yeah, it broke on, I think it was Twitter. Hacksaw Jim Duggan broke it. Leaping Lanny Poffo, the genius, younger brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, passed away today. So they didn't say how he died, but he passed away today. So him and the Macho are up there in the big WWF in the sky. So and so they're up there with I guess Dad died a while ago too. So they're all the Poffo boys are back together.
they've got themselves their own promotion up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, up there going against Big Dust and.
Well, their dad had a promotion, so
Yeah, I know.
So
and Dusty ran Florida for a while, so they got competition up there.
Yep. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So due to that, Tino, I think it's important that we give our 10-second salute to Leap and Lanny. You okay?
Yeah, I'm trying to find. If I can find the timer on my watch, I'll do it on my phone.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So for those with the flash photography, we're gonna take 10 seconds here for Leap and Lanny. Ten seconds seems really long sometimes.
It is long. It is long.
It seems so long sometimes. But it is a sad day. I mean, I have to say that you have to think that characters like Dean Douglas and Matt Stryker, like with the education and the being smarter than everybody else. I mean, heck, even Drew Gulak right now with his being the guy who schools everybody on how to wrestle right now, like
Andre Chase.
Andre, that's that's probably an even better example of what I'm thinking here. But it's sad to see him go, because without him, Macho would not be in the Hall of Fame.
No, because he raised hell. He raised hell to get his brother and get his brother in the Hall of Fame to get him the respect he deserved.
Well, for a long while, he actually did everything he could to say that Randy did not want to be part of it, so he wasn't going to do it. And then he finally had the change of heart after Angelo died. So, like or maybe it wasn't after. I think Angelo still died before. Did Angelo die before Randy?
I think so. I'll fact check that.
He would have been really old if he hadn't.
I just want to know if the rumors with Stephanie and the Macho Man are true, that everybody took that to the grave.
Well, we're not going to talk about that now, obviously, because we're talking about the man's life, not his brother.
So Angelo died in 2010, and Macho Man died a year later, 2011.
Oh, wow. And right now we don't know the workings around it, but I would assume that it's probably just long life and stress.
He was 68, so I don't know. You know, in these times, that's still kind of. I mean, that's still young. That's not really old. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping. You
I
know,
mean,
you hate to see anybody die, but natural causes is what we.
yeah, what we hope for here, and
Yeah.
he really seemed like the type of guy that was into the drug scene or anything
Now, I was
other.
reading his Wikipedia, and they were saying how he spent a big part of his life. He doesn't, anti-smoking, so he didn't smoke, and he didn't do drugs. He didn't drink. So who knows?
Oh man, Chris Barrett and Michael Turner in the audience.
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
Chris Barrett coming out like Scott Steiner tonight. Um, so Tino, we didn't do the show last week. It was mainly because I initially said that I had something come up, and then you had something come up. So even after I tried to get back into doing the show, you were like, "Nah, let's just do it after the Rumble." And then they gave us a 5-hour Royal Rumble.
Well, it's 4 because it went what it was started at 8. Really started at 8, and the thing was done like 11:30. After all that drama, we'll get into that. That final
That final
match was
that dude, that final
was
match ended
was an
at like
hour.
12:15.
So it was like an hour. So when the whole thing from start to finish was an hour. Had to been.
If you go on to Peacock right now, that entire broadcast is like 6.5 hours.
Well, too, I watched it too. Also, they had the press conference after.
Which I
So
was happy. I like that they actually added that into the whole thing.
I watched it. I went back. Did you go back and watch that press conference?
I watched it while it was live.
I went back and watched it because I didn't
Like,
realize it. I went back to watch the Roman match, and then I realized it still had all this time after. I'm like, well, what the hell is this? And then I realized that's what it was.
Chris Barrett says Lanny was cleaner than a nun. I'll actually read that one on the air from him. Sorry. So Tino, we always do the little segment, but before we do the segment, the reason why we didn't even do the show after the Rumble was because the Rumble got over so late that we were all like, it ain't happening.
Well, because that was the intention. I was like, all right, I already set up that I was probably going to get home at 1, thinking that the Rumble probably just end about 11:30. I'm like, all right, and Rob's like, well, it's Saturday night. I'm like, yeah, but I got to go to church, you heathen. See, Rob doesn't go to church. He doesn't understand these things. So, but then it got over at 12:30, and I looked at Rob. I'm like, ain't no way. He agreed too. He's like, nah, there's no way.
Well, I mean, I've had this illness for over a month now, and I went back to the doctor on Monday, but like I didn't have a voice by the time the Royal Rumble was over because we were screaming and yelling the whole night.
I have not laughed that hard in a long time, and that's to your friend T was there. He had me laughing, but your other guy was, I can't remember his name now. I feel bad. Huh?
Jason.
Jason had me, especially when I think my favorite part of the night is when Terrence said Asuka, and Jason's like, no, it's Asuka. I laughed at that. I know I laughed at that for like 30
You
minutes.
dragged that joke into the ground
Because it was funny.
It out like a fire. I mean, like,
Dude.
it was so not funny by the end of it.
It was hilarious. Jason thought
Yeah,
it was
when
funny
it
too.
started, it was the first time you said
And then you shit on our. We started having fun with the Mystery 3000 theater version of the Royal Rumble, and you didn't like that. Jason and I were having a good time with that. I think he'd have been happy. Period.
So hold on. This is what got said during this. Everybody who's watching, all of a sudden, Tino sits there and says, "Hey Rob, I got an idea for you. You should totally do like Mystery Science Theater 3000 on these."
No, Jason's like, I was like, I used to love that show, and then Jason's like, well, you guys should do that. I'm like, yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
And we have talked about it multiple times, doing commentary on one of these big pay-per-views or whatever, and it just won't work because like you and I sit there and watch it, and then all of a sudden every so often we have a moment where we sit there and we say something funny, but we'll go 10 minutes with just being like,
Everybody on this show knows you can't sit still for 10 minutes and shut up, Rob. That's a lot of the reason why I'd rather watch a pay-per-view here so I can hear the pay-per-view. And don't get me wrong, I even told you, dude, y'all mean can you turn it up? Because I couldn't hear over you talking and laughing.
You're full of shit.
No, no.
You're full of shit.
Dude, you come to my house and watch wrestling, and Matthew used to say he couldn't go to sleep. I was like, is Rob coming over? He's like, is Rob? I said, Rob might be coming over. He's like, wrestling Rob? He's like, loud Rob? I said, yes, your daddy Seamus.
Yeah, damn right. Damn right.
Your daddy Seamus. But no, I had a blast. As far as what's up with me this week, I worked this week. I picked up a show for tomorrow night, which is Friday. I'll be in Clayton at the First Street Tavern. I'll be playing there 8 to 11. And then Saturday, dude, I work and I get off. I got to haul ass to your place because we're heading out to Charlotte to check out Vengeance Day, which I really am excited for. I'm looking forward to it.
It should be a good show. It should be a good show.
I watched the NXT last night or Tuesday night, and I didn't realize they're doing a 2 out of 3. I didn't realize that was going to be the pay-per-view. The 2 out of 3 falls with Mello and Apollo, and we know that Apollo can put on a good show because we've seen him, and I love watching Mello. I think it's going to be a good match.
I agree. So nothing else really going on with you this week?
Nah, I just got the show tomorrow night, doing this tonight, and that's one of the reasons why I stayed home tonight. I was going to come over there, but I'm like, look, I had my class last night. I got this tonight. Tomorrow night I'll be playing a show. I got to do family, and then Saturday they're not going to see me at all, so I had to chill a little bit.
I gave you a little shit earlier when I was like, "What? Are you here?" Tino was like, "Are you good?" Because I got off work at like 8:18 tonight, and normally like I'm messaging back and forth with Tino, figuring out like coordinating the show or whatever, and I didn't have time to even look at my phone today.
Yeah, I was like text you, and it was you like you were dead air, and I'm like, oh, is he mad at me? And then
no, mad or anything. I just didn't have time to respond. And again, you asked me to do something. You asked me if I could do something that you could have easily done.
Well, I couldn't have done originally because you have I don't have. You want to give me StreamYard powers? I'll invite everybody you want me to. You send out the link. I don't. That's what I was trying to say. I'm listening.
Anyway, like I said, I gave you some shit, and then like I kind of figured you weren't coming over tonight because we are going to hang out on Saturday. So I figured, okay, Nicole's not going to let him see me play this week.
No, you're right. That's not happening.
Yeah. So there was that. But Tino, just before we went on the air, the news broke. I'm going to wait for you.
Sorry.
Some news broke on, of all websites, Variety.
Wrestling news?
No. What's up with me news?
What's up with you and Variety? That's a national publication. So now you got piqued my interest.
So earlier today on Variety.
And before you go into it, is your name?
Oh yeah. You want me to pull up the article?
No. Text it to me though. Go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. That's a big deal, dude. That's awesome.
So it's something that I kind of started mentioning, like I might have something, coming up. And it's not anything big or any big deal for me specifically. Like I am.
Oh.
But I am officially listed as one of the cast members on Variety for Grubs the animation series.
That's awesome.
So and if you look at the picture that they posted on the website for it, I'm not posted on the picture, but you see who is. So let me start by saying I'm pretty excited knowing that that Will Wheaton, Felicia Day, Jodie Sweetin, Jaleel
Urkel.
Jaleel White, Jerry O'Connell, myself, Bobby Crosby, Andy Rulo. Yeah, like the fact that I actually got put in the press release for it, I thought it was pretty cool. Because I think I have 2 speaking lines the entire episode. But
Now, I mean, who knows? Who knows? You could become a recurring character.
well, the whole point is that it is supposed to be a recurring character that gets like 1 line an episode or whatever. So I'm pretty excited.
So my question is, so is the character, how sometimes they make the character kind of look like you? Is the character going to look like you? Have any of your characteristics?
So it's funny you asked that, because like when I got sent a picture of what they want the truck driver to look like that I'm supposed to be, I was like, that shit don't look anything like me.
That's right, because you said that's why you're gonna use your own voice.
So
so is it? I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. It doesn't say.
Have you been drinking?
No, I'm just excited, dude. This is fucking awesome. It doesn't say like where you can watch it and when it's coming out.
So it's being adapted right now. So it's being shopped to different streaming services. It's being shot, it's being shopped around, but it's in production. It is being made.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
And since Grubs is a Keen Spot project, correct?
So it was published by KeenSpot, so same people that I'm the associate editor for, yeah.
So it's published by KeenSpot, and it's got its show being shopped around. I think Junior High Horrors is published by KeenSpot. See where I'm going?
So you're asking, are there any things in the frying pan?
Or could there be?
I mean, always. Like, what's going to happen? Because this is now the second actual in production thing from KeenSpot, right?
Because there's the J-Lo movie.
Yeah, because there was the number one movie on Prime TV, Prime Video last year on it, "Marry Me." That was also the number one movie Valentine's Day weekend last year in theaters.
I still haven't seen it. Have you watched it?
I've watched it.
I need to sit down and watch it.
It's cute. It's a rom-com. I mean, it's exactly what it's meant to be. It's Owen Wilson. It's Jennifer Lopez. Owen Wilson plays a math teacher that takes his daughter to the J-Lo concert, and J-Lo's supposed to get married to the backup singer, and then she catches him cheating on her, so she walks out on stage, and
it says you.
Someone hands him a sign that says "Marry Me," and he's holding it up, and she looks right at him and says yes, and brings him up on stage, and they get married, and you're like, well, that shit would never happen, but whatever. But then it's a rom-com, so they start to fall for each other. Then something happens where one of them gets jealous at the other one. Like it's exactly what you expect. But
you see Chris Barrett down at the bottom.
No.
Tino wants to know if JHH gets optioned, does he get a job on it now? I'd write a song for it. I'd write the theme song for it.
Well,
I would submit it.
Song for the show.
Well, this is gonna be on TV. I'll write a theme song because I know there's royalties coming in then. And if you want this deep, gravelly James Earl voice, James Earl Jones voice, I'd be willing to drop a few lines for you.
That I would do my darndest if any of my projects ever happen to have you be a walk-on role or something else. Like that's just the way that's just who I am. That's how I am. Like if I got producer credit and I can walk somebody on the stage, they're gonna walk on stage.
I would write a song. I just want to hear one of my songs on TV. That'd make me happy. Just to know, hey, that's me.
But I always joked that if Junior High Horrors actually did become a cartoon, that I would play the voice of Mikey because he's the one that doesn't talk.
Come on, man. You've got you know what you should do? You should be like a narrator kind of thing. And narrate like the episodes. That'd be cool too.
I don't know if I'd want to do narration of the episodes unless I could do like Vincent Price or something, trying to make it
Yeah.
sound like a little bit creepy. But no, I mean like, but I was going to talk about. I'm working on another comic book project with a buddy named Daryl. I've been coloring it for a couple, about a week now. He's asking me to hold off for a little bit because he had something come up, but that's okay. This it's been funny because like the joke was that I was going to get this role to sit here and do this voice on this cartoon, and all of a sudden I get this massive cough and I've got like raspiness in my voice, and I'm sitting there, I'm like just my dumb fucking luck that the first time in years I've been sick.
But check it. You're supposed to be like a truck delivery driver. That raspy voice might work for you.
Well, I did a couple different like takes on it too. So like one of them I was sitting here, I was like, hey, go ahead and sign here, okay? This is for you, like so I added some voices in there and stuff to it because like after the first set of voiceovers that I tried to do, they basically told me, and here's some terminology for you. They said he sounds like he might be too on the page. And what that means in Hollywood terms is you're just reading the script. You're not feeling the script, right? So then I was like, all right, let me go ahead, and they were like, and try ad libbing the script. Like the script isn't finalized. Like you can just stick around like what the other characters are saying around you, and you can say that whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I just started like talking and saying like different lines over and over again, but I did it in a way where I tried to add a little bit of like life to the character too. So I was like, hey, yo, Mr. Grubbs, yeah, I got something for you to sign. Got a package for you, that. So but it's funny because I get like a couple lines for the entire thing, and I'm reading the lines, and I sent like 4 or 5 takes over, and they're like he sounds good, like his voice sounds good, he can definitely do this. And I'm like, cool. And they're like, but you don't have to just send us 4 separate files for the 4 takes. Just record and just keep recording until you feel like you've got enough there. So like my 2 lines, I sent like 4 minutes worth. And we're talking like I probably have 8 seconds worth of total talk time.
Wow.
So but it was fun to do. I've got the equipment to do it. So I mean, I basically put a chair and my computer in my closet, and I walked into the closet, did the audio, stayed in there for about 5 minutes, and like was like, okay, I think I got some good stuff here. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll keep everybody updated as more and more comes out about it. But just to be named in the article,
That's
like
awesome.
I just
That's
thought
awesome.
it's great. It's great because you're being named alongside people, like I said, like Will Wheaton and Felicia Day and Urkel. It's so I joked on Instagram that you're talking about covering all the bases. You got Full House, you got Family Matters, you got Guild, you got Star Trek, you got Sliders, you got Billions, you got so like you're just like, wow, that's a heck of a cast. But I'm pretty excited about it, obviously.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Other than that, same thing you got going on. I got going on. I got Saturday night. We're gonna be out at Vengeance Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I really don't have anything else going on. I don't think. No, I don't think I got anything else going on. Went back to the doctor on Monday. Trying to get rid of this, and he he was like so you turned down getting a COVID test and a flu test. And I was like, yeah, because I took a COVID test and a flu test last week, and I don't have COVID and I don't have the flu. So like I'm not gonna take another COVID test and flu test when I don't need to take the tests. Like I'm not letting you shove something into my brain, you know? So he's like, well, what do you think you got? And I'm like, an upper respiratory thing. Like it's a cough, but I've had it for a month. Make it go away. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna give you some steroids. And I'm like, okay. And so I asked him, because I got the pinched nerve too. So I'm like, I'm like, hey, is that gonna make my arm and my back feel better? And he goes, oh yeah, you're gonna feel great. I'm like, but I don't feel great. I still got the pain in my elbow, still got the pain in my back, still got the fucking cough, still losing my voice. So and I only have one more day of the prednisone. So I'm like, when is this gonna go away? It's been a month.
You got something nasty.
I'm tired of it, man. But anyway, but yeah, so he gave me that. Then he gave me something called omeprazole, which is an antacid.
Omeprazole, I take that. That's
Yeah,
I have acid reflux.
so I don't. Like I used to, and for whatever reason I haven't had it. And he's like, oh well, a lot of people that get like lung problems and stuff is because they've got acid reflux. But I don't have acid reflux.
Yeah, I got GERD.
So he gave me that, and then he gave me an inhaler. Basically your typical asthma inhaler. And I'm like, well, I don't have asthma either. So I don't know what this guy was doing. But he's like,
yeah, but when you're coughing, are you having trouble breathing?
So the best way to describe it is if I exhale too far, it sounds like I'm percolating coffee.
That's something in your lungs.
Yeah, no, absolutely not in my stomach.
Almost sounds like like pneumonia, or had pneumonia. I bet you.
I mean, who knows? I literally thought it was. And what I think it is a non-testable strain of COVID. Because apparently there's another new one out there. So I don't know if it's untestable and untreatable, but all they keep saying is, "Oh yeah, you got an upper respiratory infection. You got to do something about that." Yeah, no shit. Do something about it. You're the fucking doctor.
Who did you go to?
For this, I just went to urgent care because I was like, I'd already been to my doctor twice talking about it, and I was like, just give me something. So, Michael, I don't drink coffee. I've been drinking a lot of hot tea.
Drink your hot toddy.
I don't like hot alcohol, man. But
you know what I found when I was because I was sick a few weeks back. I had a cough in my chest and shit. Nicole, yes, but I used Jack Apple and tea, dude. Me and Nicole both were. I'm like, hey, this is good, and I think we were getting better too, but we kept drinking it. We wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah. You want to make sure, exactly.
But yeah, that Jack Apple hit it.
That's really what's been going on with me, Tino. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's time to just jump on in.
So I don't want to because we missed like 2 weeks worth of wrestling. I just want to hit the highlights because I do want to talk about this Royal Rumble. But I think one of the most important highlights that I do want to hit is the Jay Briscoe show that AEW did, and that the Jay Lethal Mark Briscoe match. A lot of people were like, don't know how Mark did it, don't know, and I think, I don't know if you told me, if I read somewhere, I don't think you told me that you thought that he was in shock it hadn't hit him yet, but I was also reading on a couple of websites and a couple of Twitters how there's a guy who's close with Mark and was texting, asking him how he was doing. And Mark's like, he's in a better place. I didn't realize the Briscoes were very religious. So they're pretty much like, hey, I'll see him again. He did his thing, and I'll see him again. He's in God's hands. There's a whole lot of that's he said, if it wasn't for my faith, I probably would be in the worse shape than I am. And I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? That's how I would look at it too. So I just thought that was cool, and I appreciated the match. Jay coming down, and you just, like I said, I think too, somebody else pointed out Jay was crying. If you looked up at the end when all the wrestlers came out, they were crying. I don't think that they had a chance to really grieve. I mean, it was like, show must go on. Hey, let's do it. But and it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like that night Owen died, but you know what I'm saying. You're in that shock. You haven't had a chance to process it. And a lot of those people, Jay Lethal included, was like one of Jay Briscoe's best friends. So to go out there and just to put on the match that they did, I just salute them because that had to have been tough.
Yeah, it obviously was, and you know, I'm not trying to say anything that sounds negative about Jay Briscoe. It's just obviously with the character that he played in the wrestling business, you didn't really feel like that's how people would see him outside the business. Um, and I mean that's a real credit to him and his craft because I mean like you were legit scared about them. And last week I was going to talk about I was really going to jump into how you know I only got to see the Briscoes wrestle like once, and it was obviously that time that Jason almost got us killed. Um, but but I mean like this was a situation where a young man who was in the prime of his life was doing something with his family and a tragedy happened to him. And I mean like plane crashes, car crashes, DUIs, like that's the type of stuff that like you normally hear these guys going through. Like you hear, I mean, sure, you hear about cancer and you hear about them just doing, like their bodies given out because they give so much to the industry, and a bunch of them have gotten to the point where they die because of the drugs they put in their system, the alcohol they put in their system, all that type of stuff. He didn't really sound like that guy, like
He was
so.
a family guy, and I think a lot of people, like you said, you see a character that he portrays on TV, and when you see him out, but dude, they've been YouTube, and it's him. I think you mentioned it, him doing TikTok dances with his daughter. There's one where he was letting his daughter do his nails. He's just a dad. And you
Yeah,
don't get to see that part. That's not the J. Then you get him in a wrestling ring, and then he's just this killing machine, redneck killing machine that doesn't give a shit about anybody. He's going to talk shit and whoop ass. You know what I mean? And so yeah,
yeah, and I mean that's just it. It's and then it's from a fan perspective, it's one of those moments where you're like, well, I'm not gonna get a meet and greet with him this time because he'll be here next time,
yes,
and then he's not.
yes.
You know, and I hate, like I said, I hate feeling like that, and I hate saying stuff like that because I feel like I'm like not even a good fan by saying that shit, but like I don't know, I that type of stuff just like puts life in perspective.
Hmm.
Even if you've never met the person, it puts life in perspective.
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, family. I mean, family. Like, you give me shit, but like I said, there's a lot of times I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I got to be here. You know what I'm saying? And that's why. That's exactly why. I don't know when it's going to be my last time. You know what I'm saying? So I try to, if I can, you know, my family's first, dude. My
oh,
kids, my
absolutely,
wife.
as well it should be, as well it should be. I mean, like, and,
Yeah, but you give me shit.
well, of course I give you shit. That's what friends do.
Whatever, bitch.
Hey, you know as well as I do. Even when you and I hop off of here tonight, what's the last thing I'll say to you?
Love you.
And you're damn right. And like I'm gonna tell you, as a man, it feels weird saying that, but and that's because like I grew up as someone who like my dad would say I love you, and it'd be like that scene in Into the Spider-Verse where Miles Morales is in the car with his dad, and he's like, "You have to say I love you, Miles," or "You have to say I love you, Dad," and he's like, "I love you, Dad," because when you're growing up, you don't want to be embarrassed by your parents, right? And that's kind of how I felt for a long time, and then I just said, you know what, fuck it, like.
I'm going through that now with a certain someone.
Oh, I bet.
So I hug him anyway. I don't give a damn.
Well, and I mean that's just it, like, because you know what? At some point, you don't know if you're ever going to be able to again.
Yeah.
And you know it'll hit him. You know, I'm sure there was a time where your daughter didn't want to hug you, and you know she didn't always want to be daddy's little girl because she wanted to feel like a big girl. But you know, she grew out of that and she went right back to, yeah, I love my parents. You know, um, heck, my nephew Drew. You know, like him and I had a. I would say that kid just vehemently didn't like me for the longest time, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Uncle Rob, you like Pokemon? Well, did you know this Pokemon does this? This Pokemon does this. This Pokemon." And this is when he's like, you know, 9. And then, you know, for a while there again, he was like, "Uncle Rob just gives me shit all the time. So why do I wanna like be his friend?" And then, you know, now kid's 18, and he he's like "Hey, if I'm coming into town, can I stay with you? Because it's fun hanging out with you now." And it's like, of course it's fun hanging out with me. I'm that cool uncle at this point, you know, like I give you shit, you're able to give me shit. We basically make fun of each other for a little bit, and you know, life goes on. And I have all the cool video game systems. So
Well, Chris Barrett too. He says, "I always hug my friends. My friends know that I love them. My family know the exact same thing." Yeah, I always hug my friends too when I see them and when I'm leaving.
absolutely. And you know, like I said, it was weird to me coming to terms with the fact that, like, you know, and I think what really happened is when I lost one of the first people in my life that I lost, you know, when I lost my grandparents, I was like, well, they were old, so you know that they're not going to be here forever, but it put things in perspective. And then when all of a sudden you lose a friend that's your age, younger, or maybe a little bit older, it really like punches you in the dick, you know? Like there's no easy way around it. It punches you in the dick, and you sit there and you go, that could have been me,
Hmm.
you know? And
Gets
it
worse when you get older. You start to realize your own mortality. And Nicole and I were talking about the other day. You know, she's like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'll be 50 in July." So I'm looking at, I got more life behind me than I have, in front of me. Like, I hate to say it like that. I mean, I plan on being here a long, long, long time, but I'm not I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not 6 foot and bulletproof anymore. You know what I mean? So it makes you, like you said, it just makes you look at things differently, and it makes you want to give people, what is it, give people their flowers while they're here.
well, and you're absolutely right, and that's such a great line to say, and it's so true because, you know, oftentimes we don't, you know, like I can remember when, you know, I moved out of my parents' house, and my mom would call me and she'd be like, "Hey, you want to go to lunch?" She'd be like, "Well, I really don't have time," you know. Now my mom sits there and says, "Hey, you want to go to lunch?" And it's like, yeah, because, like, you know, when's the next time I might? And my mom goes on cruises and shit, so like you never know the next time you're gonna see her. You know what I mean? But you know, like I mean, my mom's almost 75 years old. My dad is 75 years old. You know, like they're at that point, and my dad. I mean, Tino knows my dad, folks. Like my dad is a cripple, and he's not just a cripple. He's to call him just a handful would be like a vast understatement.
Yeah, he's a
And he's
character
getting
though.
to the
He's a
point where,
character.
and he's getting to the point where, like, he falls down all the time, and my mom's got to pick him up, and my mom's half his size, you know. So my mom's the strongest person I've ever met, and you know, like she'd give Cesaro a run for his money, sitting there doing the big swing, being able to pick people up and whatever.
She
But
put your dad in the big. She can put your dad in the big swing.
I'll tell you what, he'd have rug burn all over his back from. But she will swing the shit out of him to get him up into a chair. But I mean, she's at that age where like she blows out a hip.
Yeah.
And it's over. Like neither of them are getting up at that point, And I hate saying that because, like I said, my mom still works 3 nights a week at the Angus Barn, which is a very busy restaurant in North Carolina. And like we're all wondering how much longer can she do that. Now, granted, we think she does it just to get away from my dad for a couple hours 3 nights a week, but
that could be.
But and I'm sorry, like this is hijacking the episode because we obviously have a lot of wrestling to talk about.
Yeah.
Although I guess we really don't, because we obviously want to talk about the Rumble, we want to talk about Raw. We don't need to talk about SmackDown at this point. It's really Raw. It's NXT for a little bit. It's AEW, and then obviously we go right into Saturday, and maybe if we want to, we give our predictions on the card, but like I know what really put life into perspective for me. Didn't help me get my weight in check or anything else because like I had my weight in check for a little while, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, now you work from home, so you just sit on your ass all day. But like my heart surgery definitely put my life into perspective, and it basically made me think that I'm not going to be forever, and if there are things I want to get done, I got to get them done. So I'm not the type of person that makes New Year's resolutions, right? I'm not going to be that guy that goes, starting January 1st, I'm going to get my ass in shape and blah, blah, blah. No.
Right.
But I mean, I've cut back how much processed food I eat. I don't eat as much candy anymore. I'm looking at stuff like that. And until I until I had this pinched nerve in my shoulder, I was lifting weights and doing that kind of stuff. But I told myself this year, I was like, I'm gonna make things happen one way or another. Now we're through January, and today's the biggest announcement of the year so far for me. Like being on Variety, and like I said, that's a little thing. It's not huge by any means for what I'm doing. I'm not the person in the studio having a conversation with Jerry O'Connell and that kind of thing. But like you said, it could amount to other stuff. People could be like, hey, that's the voice that we want for this commercial, or that's the voice that we want for this cat in this cartoon or whatever. So I mean, and I've always wanted to do voice acting. So I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, all right, like I didn't have anybody giving me direction, so I really had to like try to figure out in my own head, like, what would this character feel? How would they be? But at the same time, all that stuff with my heart surgery made me think that I need to start doing things that I've always wanted to do. I wanted more comics made, because like when I got married and stuff, I stopped writing. And it wasn't like until I came out of surgery and lo and behold, Keen Spot came back to me and said, hey, remember that thing you wrote 10 years ago? Do you want to rewrite the script for it so that we can actually put that out instead of making it a stinking turd? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then before you know it, I got this itch and I got this bug and I wanted to keep doing it. And I did. And it's been 7 years now that I've been working on stuff. So I'm basically just going to tell everybody that's watching the show tonight, like, if you got a dream about doing something, go out and fucking do it. Like, and I'll even put it this way. Jeremy Whitley, who is a comic book writer who has written a book called Princeless. He's currently, well, he also wrote She-Ra. He wrote Adventures of the Wasp for the Avengers. So I mean, he's written some good stuff. Well, this week he came out on Facebook and said, just as we got done making this graphic novel, it kind of fell through. and it's not being published by the people that said that they're going to publish it, and it's kind of a downer, and Jeffrey Whitley's the guy who sat with us at AEW Wrestling when we went to the theater.
Okay.
So, I basically sat there and said, hey, the great thing about it is if you got the right drive and the right hustle, that project's already done. You can either A, self-publish it and do it through Kickstarter. You've got fans out there. People will buy your stuff. You could look at another publisher that may have turned you down in the past, and now that it's complete, we'll sit there and jump at it. You could look at another publisher that you might not have even known existed beforehand, and now all of a sudden is sitting there going, hey, we want that, and here's the terms that we would give you on it. There's so many options out there. And like I said, you could just kickstart it if you want to. You don't have to wait until somebody says, yeah, we want this. Just do it yourself. Now a cartoon's a little bit harder. A movie's a little bit harder. That kind of stuff. But there's no reason not to do it. The only thing holding you back from doing it is you.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that because that's what I did for years till I had kids and had to slow down. I was constantly on the road doing this music thing because that's what I love to do, and that's what I wanted to do, is travel and make a living doing it. So, and I still make a smaller, but not like I was.
One of the things that my buddy Edge said to me not too long ago, Adam Copeland, by the way, no, I'm kidding. My buddy Chris Edge. He said to me, Rob, I offered to help make a website for you so that you can start, discussing what's going on in your career with comic books and everything else. But on top of that, also set up a store and everything else so that you could do everything from there. And, he basically sat there and told me that he wanted 10% of, what the site made, because he wasn't going to charge me the $10,000 that he charges to make a website because he makes professional websites, right? And I'm just rounding the number, but anyways. And he said, but you always said to me, like, yeah, I don't think I need the help doing that because of this, or this. So he came back to me and he was like, and I didn't let it really like bug me. Obviously it did, because he brings it up years later, to sit there and shit on me again about it. And then he said to me, he goes, but I'm thinking about writing a book. I'm like, oh really? And he's like, yeah. And then I want it to be a self-help book where, like I put different things in perspective for people that don't know how to either motivate themselves or whatever. And I'm planning on putting a lot of my mistakes in there, my errors in my life, and how I came back from all that. And he's like, I'd really like your opinion on the chapters as I do them. And I said, well, that's great, Chris. I absolutely will, read it and give you as many helpful hints and whatever as I can in there. But I'm an editor, so I'd have to do it for 10% of whatever your book makes. And he goes, well played. And I'm like, hey, man, you literally just told me you wanted to help me out by doing something, and that I legitimately am an editor. So this is something that if you really want my help, like making your book happen, I'll give you the same terms you gave me. Now, granted, I probably will still help him, and we'll mutually work on the value of what he gets paid in terms of my website and everything else. But like the reason why I brought this up wasn't because of the joke at the end of I told him that I wanted 10% of his book sales. It's because, he told me that, hey, you never want help. You never want someone else's perspective on what is good or what isn't in certain situations. And I've been trying to do better about that stuff. Like I asked you your opinion on different things. But he's right when it comes to like making a website or something. I've always been like, well, I'll just do it myself. but I don't know the first thing about it. You know, there's a lot of things I've taught myself over the past couple of years in terms of how to make comic books and everything else, but I don't know shit about a website.
No, neither.
And you know, like the only question I have for you about you're going on the road and you're doing the music thing and you're doing this and you're doing that is how much time did you ever really put into making your own music?
Oh, I have a library of originals, and
Sure.
I would sprinkle them in. But like I said, I was getting paid to play, different bars and different places. Now I did have places where they just wanted strictly originals, and we could do that. But a lot of the things I was doing was like covers, and they were paying me well to do covers. So we would take time while we're on the. I mean, I'm always writing. Always writing. That's just like you. You're always writing. You always got fresh ideas, and so yeah, I did. I spent quite a bit of time writing now. And I go back and look. But and this as well. I'm sure you like this too. I'm my own worst critics. I'm like, that sucks. So I probably balled up more than I've written, and tossed on the floor more than I've written. But yeah, that's something else. I promised, like you, I promised myself this year. I'm like, just writing. I want to put out, just even if it's just for me, just a 3 or 4 song LP, EP, just LP,
I
and
would
just
tell you what you should do is I mean, you obviously have a highlighted birthday this year.
yes, I'm
I would say
excited.
what you need to do is you need to tell everybody that's one of your friends, your family members, whatever, this is what I want for my birthday. I want studio time to put out a couple songs.
I hadn't thought about that, but I'm going to Disney.
I know you're going to Disney. I didn't get the invite. You know how much I
that
love Disney.
that's probably our last family vacation. Though Haley, who's graduating college and probably going on and moving on with her life, so get my last
Oh,
hurrah with my kids.
you guys will figure out something where you'll get everybody together for certain things. But like
And you don't
you,
necessarily have to have studio time. I can make my own thing, and just have it and send it to and just pay to have it mixed
no, dude,
and make it
go
sound
out,
pretty.
get yourself into a real studio to where you can play for about an hour, play all your different songs that you love to sing. You know, don't all have to be originals, but fuck, put out a 10 song album.
I
Why
probably
not?
well,
Put it on Spotify. Put it
that's
on.
that's
Make one of
that's
those fucking originals the theme song of this show.
oh,
That
okay. Well, yeah, I can put the originals on Spotify. I don't think I can do a cover on Spotify. I might run into legal problems.
well, I mean, you got to ask for approval to be able to use it, but sure. But I mean, like every song on the album doesn't have to be on Spotify. You just want to put a couple songs on Spotify.
Yeah,
But the Potsy and Tino theme song, which doesn't even have to include Potsy and Tino, just the term wrestling in it once or twice. Like anything like that.
I think I got one then.
I mean, and think about it this way: you put it on iTunes, we make it our theme song, and instead of spotting out for Adam's House Cat, which we love, they've been with us since the beginning.
Just before I got here, he was spot seeing the turd days, isn't it?
It was, but you get to sit there and go buy our shit 99.
99.
Oh, you know what? I want you to write a song called the 99, and that's our song. So
Buy
you
our
get to say buy
buy
the
our shit.
99, and you know what? I'll even say buy the 99 if you write a song called the 99.
That's not a bad idea. I might get on that. The 99. I like that.
I mean, why not, right?
That's hilarious.
So, but
Buy our
I,
shit.
man, you're turning the big 5-0. It's one of those times where like I mean, if you're not already putting life into perspective, you're going to. and it's something you always wanted to do. I support you with it.
Yeah.
You know, I got a buddy that actually says he's got a legit studio.
I know people with studios. Yeah. I'm just gonna have to do it.
Just gonna have to do it. You heard it here first, folks. I'm motivating his ass to get up off the couch. Gonna start drinking Rolling Rock again.
Oh my God. Never drink that piss again. Jesus.
But it was from old Latrobe, man.
God. So I don't think anybody gets that. So one of my bands, Second Hand Flapjack, back in the day, we were sponsored by Rolling Rock. So whenever we're on stage or whenever we were out, if we had a beer in our hand, it had to be Rolling Rock. And so I drank so much Rolling Rock. But they sponsored us. We've got shirts, we had hats, we had pool cube chalk, we had koozies, we had got everything. And they had our name and our logo on it. So they were sponsoring us. So we drank the Rolling Rock. Robin, that's what Rob joking. He remember those days. And I would tell him, I'm so sick of Rolling Rock.
He would literally go up and be like, "Hey, let me get a couple Rolling Rocks," and just bring them over to the table, hand them to everyone else, and he'd drink something else.
because I got them free. That's another thing. That's why we drank so much, because we were sponsored. So wherever there was Rolling Rock, when we walked in, we want a Rolling Rock, we could drink Rolling Rock for free. I'm put this way. So back in the day, Rolling Rock came out, and then we got to get into wrestling. But Rolling Rock, it was long Long, long beverage. Remember long beverage? They used to have all the beers. So that's where the Rolling Rock. That's where it was, right? So we had our connection there. He's the one who we call and say, hey, we need more shirts, we need more hats, blah 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 blah. He was our go-to guy at Rolling Rock. Well, when Nicole and I got married, he was like, hey, he said, this I want you to come to the warehouse to Long Beverage and pick. And they didn't just have Rolling Rock there. That's about the internet. Remember when Smirnoff Ice had all the different flavors? Let me put it this way. We had so much Smirnoff Ice from our wedding. We got married in '04. When was my son born? '09. We still had some in the garage cases. I just kept sending them. We were like, what the fuck am I gonna do with all this damn Smirnoff Ice? So we'd have parties, we'd drink them, but we still had cases 5 years later.
That's nuts. And that shit didn't go bad.
No, 5 years later, it still tasted good. We just had to put it in the fridge, let it cool off some. So those were the days that we did. We used to have fun, dude.
No, I
But
know. I remember. I used to try to catch at least one of your shows a month.
those
And we,
shows were crazy. Those shows were crazy. I remember we started out at we got big at the original Ruckus in Mission Valley. Is where we started, and that's when I discovered the wireless mic. And I'll never forget. He was like, "What do you guys?" He wanted us to play because it was just Chris and I at the time. It's just he would play guitar and I would sing. It's before we started the band, and we would go out there on Tuesday nights, and then they had QDR would have like contests, and then you got to be on the radio if you won the contest, and so we kept winning, and people kept coming. So they wanted to give us a show, and we're like, I didn't want to do Friday nights because my friend John Dupree played at Sammy's right there. I said, well, what do you guys do Saturday nights? He said, well, Saturday nights we don't have much business. We got 75-cent draft. We can't get anybody in here. I'm like, you're right here 2 miles from the college, and you can't get people in your bar on Saturday nights with 75-cent draft. Give us a shot. And before you knew it, we packed that place out every Saturday night. So I will Ruckus always holds a special place in my heart, man. But that's when the wildness started. So
those were the days.
God, that's when I was much younger.
You ready to talk about some wrestling?
Yeah, so I already talked about what I want to talk about at AEW. I mean, you said you're right. We don't need to talk about SmackDown.
We've been
Um,
sprinkling it in the entire episode. But
let's just hit this Royal Rumble because man,
so
what did you think? What you think of the Royal Rumble? A lot of people.
Before I talk about the actual 30-man Royal Rumble,
I'm talking about the whole show.
Sure. All right. So if you wanted me to give like a rating to the show, I felt like the men's Rumble was probably a B to a B plus. I thought that it delivered high notes. It definitely made stars out of certain people. I think it delivered some shocking moments, but I was pretty disappointed by the surprises.
I read somewhere on Twitter people weren't happy with Booker T showing up.
They weren't. Well, that's because they wanted other people.
They're like, he's 50. He's 57. He was too old. I'm like, wait. First of all, slow your roll. Second of all, I thought it was awesome, and they kind of played it off too. If you listen to commentary on Tuesday, he's like, yeah, Ray didn't show up. They gave me the call, so I wonder if he was the replacement for Rey Mysterio.
No, he still had a number in the Rumble, so there was only 20 people in the Rumble. But okay, so rest of the show, the Pitch Black match, I actually enjoyed the match more than I enjoyed the aftermath. I thought that the Uncle Howdy garbage, I mean, I felt like the spot had a bad camera angle, so it looked like he missed him by a mile. I felt like at this point, I don't give a shit about Uncle Howdy. Now, Bray Wyatt came out this week on Ryan Satin and said that he's got no intentions of bringing back the Fiend, and he's got no intentions of bringing back the cult leader. And he gave a good reason about the cult leader. He said he's got no, he's not going to bring him back because it's not the same without Brody.
Yep.
And it would be disrespectful, and I completely respect that. I think it's funny that LA Knight came out as that character, before the Rumble. But which, by the way, when we're watching the Royal Rumble on Saturday night, you're laughing about it, and I'm like, I bet they start selling those little shits. Why, right? And the why not is because, I mean, ultimately, the reason why they wouldn't actually sell those is because it's not going to be that character anymore, right? I like the black light aspect of the Pitch Black match.
Oh, that was cool.
I loved how Bray Wyatt had that paint on himself to make him look like one of the characters from Avatar with teeth, like werewolf teeth.
And the boys' pants were yellow. LA Knights.
Oh, that was awesome. Even his coat was until he took it off, and I mean it was bright as fuck. But like when they landed on the announce table and
that was awesome.
All the shit like popped out and it just made the whole thing green. I thought that was awesome, dude. Bianca and Alexa was a big letdown.
Yeah,
it was definitely. If I had to say, I would say that it was the worst part of the entire Royal Rumble. Even worse than the Uncle Howdy moment, which I thought was just worthless.
Okay.
The women's Royal Rumble, I was happy with it. I loved the fact that they showed Michelle McCool in the audience, but then I was like, she's going to be in the Rumble. So it would have almost been better if one of the other women got beat down before she got to the ring, and then Michelle McCool said, "Can I get in there?" And they said, "Go ahead."
Okay. And then the main event.
Which
before we get
okay, so from start to finish, like I said, I would say B to maybe B plus for the entire show.
I'll give it a B. Yeah.
I think even the Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns match was
that was an A.
Well, no, the match itself wasn't. The match itself was like, okay, we're gonna get to the finish, and towards the end of the match when they had the vicious side of Roman come out, was when it really picked up. But it was the aftermath of the match that was like an A and 2 pluses.
Now, I want to say before we get into it, What is your highlight of the men's Royal Rumble? Of the men's match? There was two for me.
So okay, I know what one of them was, and it wasn't anything that actually happened, but it's when I sat there and said, "When did Gunter start bleeding in his back really bad?" And Jason looked at me and said, "I think Dominic shanked him."
That wasn't one now, man.
That popped me so fucking hard, dude. I was laughing my ass off. But otherwise, I mean, the Logan Paul Ricochet spot, and then the TikTok that you sent me today about it.
That was.
What's your name? What's your name? Tony. What's your name? And the whole fuck you, Ezekiel. Yeah, that shit was hilarious because they were actually like going like this for most of it, and you were like, it really looks like they're doing that. Logan Paul got hurt again, by the way.
No, of course.
He
So did Kofi. I think Kofi hit his head on that table.
Kofi
We
did.
remember we thought he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Kofi did. But Kofi still only put one leg on the ground.
Yeah. I think the other hot spot for me, and it wasn't even a hot spot. I don't think anybody really noticed it. I like that Gunther Brock Lesnar face off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you noticed that for a minute there, they had all those big motherfuckers in there together.
And I was reading or listening to someone that I think they are planning on having, a small Gunther Brock feud. I don't think it's going to be anything big, but I think it's to further raise Gunther. I don't think you need to raise him any further, but you know what I mean. I don't think Brock's going to dominate him. I think it's going to help elevate Gunther.
You definitely have to raise Gunther further because here's the reality behind it. Gunther versus Cody has the ability to beat Rocky versus Ivan Drago. It has that or feel.
But they're not going to have that. They're Cody's on his way to Roman.
Yeah. No. And no, I mean after Cody wins the title.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think SummerSlam, Gunther takes the world title from Cody. Because by then, Gunther will have been the Intercontinental Champion for about a year. And he'll be like, it's time for bigger and better things. And I would love to see him have one of those matches with Cody where, like, Cody doesn't see it coming and he kind of gets his ass kicked. And hold on, I'll even tell you how I'd start the feud. I don't mean to cut you off, but this is how I would start the feud. Dustin Rhodes' contract is supposed to be coming up this year.
He's retiring.
He's already said he plans on retiring. But you don't think that Triple H could get him to do one more match where it's him versus Gunther to really agitate Cody to get Cody to finally accept the challenge of Gunther?
They did that. They did that with the Undertaker and Flair.
Sure.
Now I'd rather see Gunther pull a Stone Cold and said, "I've been this. I don't want it anymore." Like you said, on the bigger, better things, and just kind of like, here, they give it to whoever's coming up. Like Stone Cold gave it to Rock. Said, "Here, I don't want it anymore." Gunther gives it to somebody.
I think they do title for title, and if Gunther wins, he has to relinquish the Intercontinental, right? So I think he actually could carry it all the way there. But I think that the way that you really set off that match between Gunther and Cody would be him having one of those moments where Dustin accidentally bleeds, and he makes it into one of those moments where he's like, "You're gonna give me my shot, Cody. You're gonna give me my shot. You've been ducking me since the Royal Rumble."
They can't do that right now because they just did it Monday.
Did they? Are people going to remember?
Becky trying to get Bayley into that match, and she fucking had yes, because the man was a part of it. Yes.
I don't know, man.
Yes.
The WWE fans' mentality and thought span is not nearly what it used to be. I mean, like I was saying during the Royal Rumble, isn't it funny that they're in Texas and they're cheering the shit out of Kevin Owens, And yet, the last time Kevin Owens was in Texas, he's getting booed out of the place because he's getting stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, like,
I mean, I don't think it's a attention span. I think it's who's facing who's heel right now. They're knowing they're seeing that something's coming with him and Sammy. I don't think it has anything to do with attention span.
so let's really dig into the Sami Zayn thing. Should Sami Zayn face Roman Reigns for the world title and win?
They're not going to let him win. He should face him and win. They should let him, like you said, he is hot. I'm not saying let him hold it a year and let him hold it to WrestleMania, or either let him hold it, he loses it back to Roman, and Roman loses it at Mania, which is probably what they might hot potato, because I think they're talking about the Elimination Chamber is where they're going to have him face Roman.
Because it's in Montreal. So what I almost think they're going to do, I think they're going to pull one of those moments where it was like when Dean Ambrose stole the world title. Because I don't think they're going to give Sammy the belt. And if they do, they'll figure out a way to restart the match.
Or he'll lose it next night on Raw. I mean, they can always.
They don't want Roman to say that his streak is over till he loses the title to Cody.
No, but it's not going to hurt him if they separate it.
I don't know if they separate it. You know, and if they do separate it, do you give Sammy the Raw belt? And what do you do with Sammy if you give him the Raw World Championship belt? Who does he go up against at WrestleMania?
No, they can give him the Universal, or give him the blue belt, and let what's his face hold on to it, because Cody's just going to turn it into the wing belt anyway.
Well, all rumored, but you know the big difference, like WWE likes having that giant W on that belt, and the wing eagle doesn't have that. So you could see them possibly creating a brand new belt that has that giant W in the winged eagle.
It's so tacky.
I mean, it is, but it's the biggest advertisement they got, especially when they give it to every championship team and champion out there.
Mm.
So I mean, Royal Rumble, the Sami Zayn thing. Sami Zayn finally breaks off from the bloodline, and he does it because he just can't take Roman shit anymore. He, you know, and it's sad too, because right before that, when they do the whole thing where Kevin Owens is you know, being held up by the handcuffs and everything, Roman Reigns is sitting there actually saying, he's my family. He's not your family. He's part of my family.
But you see, but I don't think, and I think it was the subtleties of Sammy took that first slap to the face. That second slap to the face, he kind of bowed up, and then he went back. That third slap, you notice he went nose to nose, and then he went back down like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's the subtleties of that, and I want to know where Jay's going.
See, and you know what? That's the one thing I didn't like about that entire situation, was that Jay got some of the rub from it. Like, that was Sammy's moment, and Jay not wanting to hit him and walking off from the entire bloodline.
I read something too, and I don't know, but part of me is like, maybe that because he walked off, Roman's going to use his pull to get Jay fired. So Jay will take some time off, and he comes back. That'll be his redemption story. He'll come back. That's a strong face, kind of like he was when he was the main event Jay Uso. Which leads me to believe they're probably about to lose those tag team championships.
There's another option here that would still allow for that one storyline that everybody really wants. And it's,
which storyline?
Jay's so fed up with his cousin Roman at this point that he goes to his other cousin and he says someone's got to put a stop to it.
But when, though? We already got WrestleMania.
Oh, sure. I mean, WrestleMania is locked up, although there are 2 nights of WrestleMania.
But okay, The Rock's not wrestling on WrestleMania, so it's going to be right now. Cody's going to be Cody's going to be unified champ. He's going to take both those belts. So you're saying you have Roman work 2 nights?
I would. Bastard only works like 20 nights a year anyway.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. But that's a good book. That's wishful thinking.
It's not going to happen. But I would do it. Other than that, nothing really else. So last things about the Royal Rumbles. The fact that number 1 versus number 30 were the last two Royal Rumble guys in there for the men, I thought was excellent. It really solidified Gunther as a monster, because not only did he go 72 minutes in the Royal Rumble, but he went 72 minutes with the freshest guy in the Royal Rumble, and he went 10 minutes just the two of them. Like, it was a legit singles match at the end of that thing. I would have been fine if they said, because no one's won this match yet, we're going to sudden death, and it's not necessarily who throws who out. It now can be pinfall or submission. I would have been fine if they changed the rules at the 70-minute mark. I'm just saying I would have been fine with it. The other thing that I really enjoyed, I love that Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan were the last two, because what it really gave was Liv Morgan is now the ultimate loser, and yet a great baby face because of it. Because if you look at the record book, they now are tied for the longest time in a women's Royal Rumble.
But Rhea was a little bit more.
No. The clock stops as soon as those feet hit. She lasted that long. They literally are both labeled as the longest streak in Rumble history, except one person won and the other didn't. The question is whether or not they're now going to put Liv Morgan into the women's chamber match and have her face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. I don't think so. And I really do think ultimately what we're going to get, somehow, they're going to figure out a way to pull a schmaz ending, if you will. And we're going to have like a 4-way dance for the Raw Women's Championship at Mania. It's going to be Bianca, it's going to be Asuka, it's going to be Becky, and it's going to be Bayley.
You don't think Alexa's going to get back in there?
I don't think Alexa needs to, because they obviously have something planned for her with this Uncle Howdy shit. So that's my feelings on that. But that's really all I've got to say about the Royal Rumble at this. The standout star of the Royal Rumble for the first half of the Rumble wasn't Gunther, wasn't even the number 2 guy in there, Sheamus. It was Latino Heat. Dominic, for the first half of the Royal Rumble, was easily the number 1 guy.
Why?
Dude, he just he did everything right by being the chicken shit heel that he is. Hiding behind his 2 other Judgment Day brothers, taking shots at everybody he could. And like I said, shanking Gunther. I mean, that's the only reason why Cody won, was because Gunther got a shank in the side.
That's 2 things. Which spear do you think hurt Rhea worse? That first one or that second one that she took?
That who took?
Rhea. Because she got speared twice during the men's Royal Rumble and at the end.
Why did Beth Phoenix look like she was supposed to be in the Royal Rumble, and then all of a sudden she just spears Rhea Ripley?
I don't know. Second thing I don't agree with, and I don't think was a good idea, and both you and I think everybody was like, when Roman kept power bombing Kevin on those steel steps, the back of his head, and it was unprotected. It was unprotected.
It was one of the
cringiest,
ugliest spots I've seen in pro wrestling in years. Maybe, and I said maybe the ugliest spot, and not because it didn't look like it did its job. It looked like it did its job too well. You know, I mean, he could have broken Kevin Owens' neck. He could have broken.
Concussed.
He could have, and the fact that he did it a second time. Now, I don't even like the fact that that weird guy in that front row was sitting there saying, "Do it again." Like, I don't know who the fuck that guy was. That dude just needed to be slapped. But the fact that he did it, and then he did it again, like, that was just vicious. And you know, last thing about Roman right here is that he's the only guy in pro wrestling right now that can make you sit there and cheer him when he puts the one up like this, and can have you saying "fuck you, Roman" by the end of a match.
I think he's on that "fuck you, Roman" he for a while now. I don't know if they're gonna be cheering him anymore.
Dude, in Montreal, they're gonna be saying "fuck you, Roman" in French. And I don't even know how to say it, but they're going to be like, "Voulez-vous, Roman? Voulez-vous?"
Shut up.
Well, however you
Voulez-vous.
say it. They're going to say it in French, though. What hurt Rhea the most was seeing Edge's hand on Beth. Everybody's talking about the Edge butt slap on Beth. He just had his hand on her butt. Good
I don't
for
even
him.
remember that.
Monday Night Raw. So I was sitting talking to T on Monday night, and he goes, "How's Raw going to start?" And you know what I told him? I said, "It's going to start with Cody in the ring," because he was like, "Is it going to be Kevin and Sammy?" I'm like, "No, they're SmackDown guys now. It's going to be Cody in the ring, and he's going to get interrupted by Judgment Day." And he goes, "What makes you say that?" I said, "Well, because if they were smart," and this is where like it deviated from my opinion here. I said, "If they were smart, they would have had him come out, start talking, do his whole little spit, and then all of a sudden have Rhea Ripley come out and say, 'That's really great, Cody. You came out at number 30. I came out at number 1, and I won my Rumble, and I put in the longest time ever. So I don't think you're as cool as you think you are.'" And then have Dominic sit there and say, "I'm going to take Cody on now." And I like the fact that they kind of started teasing a little Dom versus Cody. Second generation versus third or fourth generation. Kind of like that little thing.
Yeah, but they knew they didn't want to feed him because they're still trying to build him up, build that character up. They didn't want to feed him to Cody.
Well, of course, which is why
Finn could take it.
Who did they feed?
Finn,
One
yeah.
of the best wrestlers in the world. They fed him to him. Other than that, really didn't care about the Becky Bailey thing. Really don't care about who Bianca faces at after Elimination Chamber. Don't even care who's in the women's Elimination Chamber. Don't care who's in the men's Elimination Chamber. Because, like, why is Seth trying to get into the men's Elimination Chamber for the U.S. title?
I guess he's still got to be the top of the card. I mean, right now, until Cody wins that belt, and I think if he wins both belts, he's going to be on both shows. You still got to have right now the U.S. champ. That is Raw's belt. That is.
Well, I think this is another one of those missed opportunities. I think that you obviously by only having one world champion, you don't have the Elimination Chamber to deliver on the idea of who gets to face the second world champion at WrestleMania. I get it. At the same time, I don't like it because it diminishes the value of the Elimination Chamber. Like if you said that the winner of the Elimination Chamber gets Cody or Roman the night after WrestleMania, I'm okay with that. You know, that way they have to look over their shoulder at the end of WrestleMania because you know that person's probably going to take that opportunity to beat the shit out of somebody. So I would have preferred something like that and just have Theory go in a 3-way or 4-way dance match with something else. The other thing that I really think that they need to start looking at again is doing these Elimination Chamber matches and doing these Money in the Bank matches and making them about people that have never won the world title before. You want to elevate people. That's how you do it. You know, like the Royal Rumble elevated Gunther by him being number 1 in there. You know, the Women's Rumble elevated Rhea Ripley because she had been one of those people that had made it to the last two in the Royal Rumble, and then they messed they messed her up. So I mean, like you got to utilize those matches properly, and I think by putting Bobby Lashley in there, by putting Seth Rollins in there, and then having guys like Elias and Bronson Reed in there, I'm sitting there like, well, Bronson Reed doesn't have a chance, but
why
maybe
not?
But maybe he does because it's for the U.S. title and not for. But if it were for a chance at the world title, he doesn't have a chance in that match. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It kind of annoys me.
I almost think that we're going to see Theory lose that belt, but I don't think he's going to lose it to who we think he's going to. Like I said, I almost see him losing it to a Bronson Reed. You know what I mean? Like you said, they got to start elevating people. I mean, it makes sense.
The only way I think Austin Theory loses that match is if, when it comes down to him and whoever the last competitor is, John Cena's music hits, and there is no John Cena. He doesn't come out. But it causes Theory to lose that match. And it sets him tirade. And just, remember when those characters would have like just the total meltdown?
Christian.
Well, Christian, but hell, Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. Like word came out today that Brock Lesnar throwing the top of the table into the ring and like hitting the steel step. None of that was planned. So Brock just went into business for himself with that shit.
Oh, did he go into business when he damn pounced Corbin?
No, I think the Corbin thing was planned. Now, throwing the official over the guardrail, that might have not been planned. But like, that's what I'm saying, is like, I would love to see Theory have a meltdown like that and then demand over the next 5 or 6 weeks that John Cena face him at WrestleMania.
I'd be good with that.
And I'd be fine with it not being for the title. So I'd be fine with a guy like Bronson Reed or Elias winning the U.S. title in that situation. Except I really do think that at this point, Elias and Rick Boogs are going to become a band rather than they're going to be a tag team rather than anything else. And what the hell happened to Rick Boogs, man? That dude is so large now. Like,
Recovery.
It's like he ate Rick Boogs.
Recovery, dude. He took full advantage of that rehab time.
Yeah, took full advantage of the time that they're not drug testing, is what you're saying.
Chris Barrett wanted JBL to die.
Wanted him to die?
Yeah, read that last statement he just wrote.
Yeah, that one.
He wants to see JBL dead.
All right, what do you got to say about NXT? Was the go home show worth it?
I think so. I'm still, because Gigi slipped again and said, when we become, I think something's going to happen. I think they're going to split.
Well, I told you, I think Roxanne's gonna hold the belt, and then the other two are gonna show up on SmackDown or Raw after Mania.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're gonna show up together. I think they're.
I think they're too over, like, as a tag team.
So as I always say with tag teams, so in that tag teams, who's the Shawn Michaels, who's the Marty Jannetty? Yeah, they're both over together, but who if they split them up, who is the Shawn Michaels, who's the Marty Jannetty?
Well, I'll ask you this. If you really think it's always about having a Shawn Michaels and a Marty Jannetty, which one of the Young Bucks is the Shawn Michaels and which one's the Marty Jannetty? Kenny Omega?
I don't give a shit about his dick sucking circle.
I know, but FTR, same thing. Like, those guys just want to be the world's greatest tag team.
I gotta go with my boy Dax. Dax is the star of that tag team. Cash is good. Dax where the money is. And as much as I hate to say it, rest in peace, Jay was the money in the Briscoe brothers. You know what I'm saying? That you've always in all tag teams. If I had to pick between the Young Bucks, I would probably say Nick, the younger one, because he's more.
Is he the one that always is holding his back because he always got a back problem?
No, he's the one that does all the flips and all the
because he
the
doesn't
younger
have
one.
a problem yet.
So just like the Hardy Boys, this was Jeff Hardy. So I mean, there's always there in every tag team, no matter how great they are. Animal to me in the Legion of Doom was the star.
Oh hell no! It was Hawk, dude.
No,
It totally was Hawk.
not just because he goes, oh, what a rush. No,
No, because he'd be like, well, and then of course he was always the one that was going broadways with Ric Flair. It wasn't fucking Animal.
then of course you had the Heart Foundation. Obviously, it was Brett. So I
Yep.
mean, if you break them apart, there's always a Sean and a Marty.
What about the natural disasters? Earthquake and Tugboat, man.
I have to go with the Quake.
What about Ricky Morton and Bobby? What's his face?
Oh, the Midnight Express.
Yeah.
Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton was the star of that one.
What about the Freebirds?
Michael P.S. Hayes, baby, and
All right.
and the
All right,
Midnight Express.
I got a good one for you.
Okay.
The New Day.
The star of the New Day. Before he got hurt, Big E had the personality. But so now I'd have to go. I'd have to go with Kofi. And it hurts me. It hurts me because I love, but they haven't. He just. It's like Xavier is right. He's just right there. It's something. He's still missing just one little piece. I don't know what it is.
I'm gonna throw one at you, and this is gonna throw it hard. Who was the Shawn Michaels and who was the Marty Jannetty of the Rock and Sock connection?
The Rock,
damn,
baby.
Bro, I nailed you there. There isn't one. There's two Shawn Michaels.
I don't
and
know.
Dude Love was fucking Shawn Michaels, dude.
I don't know. I still have to go with the Rock. I love Mick. I love Mick, but
No, that's two Shawn Michaels.
We might have to. Okay. I have to give you that one. You got me there.
I knew I'd get you.
I still say the Rock, but okay.
So
you're gonna throw all the tag teams at me.
I have Big Boss Man and Akeem the African Dream.
Akeem. He's more entertaining. It's a job soul, bro. I just like to watch him dance. That was the $1 million man. $1 million man.
That one's easy. Okay. Let's see. Harlem Heat, we already know that's Booker T. Doom
was Ron Simmons.
The APA.
Ron Simmons.
Was it? Because who became the world champion after?
This is true. I still keep with Ron Simmons.
What about
Chris Bear says Strike Force. Shut up.
Okay. Here's a really interesting one for you. Here's Sting and the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, the old Renegades?
Both multi-time world champions.
Sting still had that it. The Warrior couldn't talk. See, Sting has the total package though. Warrior couldn't talk. Warrior was a body.
Don't you bring Lex Luger into this at all?
The Mega Powers was Macho Man.
You can't even say that. That right there is another Rock and Sock connection, dude. Like they were
Macho
both.
Man.
They were. Neither one of those guys was Marty Jannetty.
All right, that might have been a bad example.
Yeah, you set yourself up for failure on that one.
Yeah. I still say Macho Man was the better one out of that group, though. But
Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Arn.
Sadly, the one that probably had more talent was Tully Blanchard.
Yeah, but Arn.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that one. I was kind of joking about that. Ooh, the Outsiders. The answer is Kevin Nash. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Because he got the rub, and
yeah.
Razor got kicked to the curb.
I got one for you.
Okay,
The Nasty Boys.
Public Enemy.
They do, they, I laugh because they do look like the Fat Rockers. Because one was blonde, one was brunette, and they both had the mullets.
Ooh, I got another one for you. The Bushwhackers.
Oh God, I'm gonna go with Butch.
Just because that's the name you remember.
Oh, it's Luke. No, it's Luke and Butch. I'm gonna go
I
with
know the
Butch.
sheep herders. Okay, we got to get back on track.
Sorry,
We
sorry.
can come up with another 600 tag team names. What Pretty Deadly? Which one of those guys is the
Oh
Marty
my
Jannetty?
God, the brunette one.
They're both the Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, they suck. I kind of wish that the schism, those two, what they call it, the dyad. I wish they would go back to grizzled young. What was it, grizzled young veterans? What I like that gimmick better.
It was a pretty shitty gimmick either way, but all right. Let's jump into something. I want to talk about this. Takashita,
Check a shitter.
whatever they're calling him now. I don't know if you were on the Facebook group at all, but I apparently have a much different opinion about this guy than other people do.
Oh, what happened?
I'm not saying the kid doesn't have talent, okay? I think he's very talented.
Let me look and see what the fuck you said.
What I said was quite simply, I'm tired of AEW throwing their world champion against a no-name that came out of nowhere, and they just want to throw on TV because he's the flavor of the month.
They ate you alive, didn't they?
Well, one guy did. Another guy sat there and said, well, if they just keep doing the same thing that the WWE does by having the same two guys face each other at every pay-per-view, then everybody's going to stop being interested. So here's the thing. I'm not saying you don't build the guy up. I'm just saying you don't have him in a backstage brawl with your world champion 3 weeks or 4 weeks before your pay-per-view.
But there's a reason. But the storyline A, B, they've got to keep him busy, and I think that might be a way for him to remember, because we said he hadn't been in a ring, so he still has to keep his chops up, and this young kid, it probably will be a good kind of, I don't want to say not ring rust off, but you know what I'm saying.
Look at this, though.
That's A, and B, he is a big fan of Daniel Bryan, so he's standing up for Daniel Bryan. So it's a two-pronged storyline there.
So
Him
let me
busy.
You're absolutely right that MJF needs to wrestle. Like, he needs to have competitors, and he can't be off TV and not wrestling every single week. That's a shitty way to have your world champion, Roman Reigns. I get it, okay? I believe it. I understand it, and that's why they put Sammy, a workhorse, into the bloodline for as long as they did. Here's the problem I have with it. They dilute their world champion, and they keep doing it. This is why when I sit there and I tell you, who do you think would actually, like, in AEW would end up being a world champion in WWE? You give me a name and I say mid-card. And then I say, who would do it? And you give me a name and I say mid-card. And you say, well, how can you say that? Well, because he's facing a guy named Takeshita that no one gets his name right. Some of them call him Takashita. Some of them talk Takashita. Like, whatever. Like,
Well, they do talk a shit because that's what he did.
MJF called him. I know. But my point is that here's a guy that right now is 130th in victories in AEW. and you've got him just jumping up the ranks to be against your world champion when your world champion should be going up against caliber talent. And yeah, he should be cheating to win because he's a fucking heel.
He probably will.
I'm tired of John Moxley going 25 minutes with a guy that shouldn't last 5 minutes with him. Either don't have him face these guys, or when he does face them, have them only last 5 minutes, get hit with a Death Rider, and it's over. Like, you're diluting your top guys rather than bringing these other guys up to them. A guy like Takeshita should probably be facing Samoa Joe or Darby Allin for the TNT title rather than going for the world title holder. You're just bringing everybody back down to mid-card rather than elevating people up to main event status. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to get there. I really am not saying that because I think he's good. But Ric Flair called him out for his chops being weak. And if anybody's allowed to sit there and say chops are weak, it's either Ric Flair or the fucking Big Show. Like, and Takeshita, to his own credit, sat there and absolutely said, in Japan, working on your chops isn't exactly one of the big things to do. So I know I've got work to do. So I appreciate your opinion and I'll work on it. Took it like a champ. Problem I still have is that here you are talking about a guy who's got 27 matches under his belt in AEW. And I'm going to say 20 of them haven't been on television because they've been on Dark or whatever. So it doesn't matter how good the kid is. He's not world title over.
Okay, but and it goes back to what we talk about and what you were bitching about this elimination chamber. How do we get these young kids to be over if we bitch about them going against the top of the top of the chain?
So, okay,
if they can't prove themselves, so you can't have it both ways.
There are ways to do it, and like I said, it's when you finally get that match, it's against somebody that sits there and tells you, "You got 5 minutes to impress me, kid." Then the kid impresses him.
But he's not going for the title. He's just going.
He shouldn't he shouldn't be in the ring with the world champion.
MJF shouldn't be the world champion, but I digress. He only got that because he's a bitch baby, and he took his ball and went home.
He is the most over guy in AEW, and unfortunately, if you don't like that, it's the same reason you don't like the Young Bucks. It's because of what they do backstage. It's because of and I trust your opinion on that. I think that you've got valid statements about everything you hate about the Young Bucks. Because guess what? I fucking hate them too. Like if they show up in WWE, I'm probably not watching when they're on. Fast forwarding, going to the bathroom, doing whatever. Like they are a bathroom break match for me now because I'm tired of them saying that they're putting the other team over, and all they're doing is patting themselves on the back, saying we did a good thing. Go fuck yourselves, Young Bucks. Seriously. Same time, I'm still thinking that you've got. Okay, here's my real problem with Takeshita getting all the TV time that he has. Same thing with Action Andretti. You can't do it with that many guys at one time. You can have one kid come up and all of a sudden surprise Jericho by getting a victory. You can have that, but you literally can't.
But he hadn't had his match yet. They're not saying Takeshita's going to beat MJF.
I'm not saying he's going to beat him either. He's not going to beat him.
No.
But if you look at his record, when he's faced Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, he's lost. The biggest win of his career so far was against Brian Cage, who everyone says is on his way out of AEW.
Okay, well, but then we go back to Takeshita. Yeah, he's got 20 matches. How many times has MJF wrestled?
I don't care, man.
It does fucking matter, dude.
So
Takeshita has wrestled more than the fucking champion right now.
I'm trying to tell you that MJF should be going up against Eddie Kingston while he's waiting for his match with Bryan Danielson. He shouldn't be going up
Bitched
against.
about that. You
He
bitched
should be
about
going.
him going against Kingston a couple weeks ago.
He should go against Miro. He should go against Adam Cole. He should go against all these guys that have been held off of TV so Takeshita can get TV time.
Miro's ex-WWE guy. Who'd you just say?
Eddie Kingston.
So Eddie Kingston is who has had plenty of TV time. It all goes back to if we don't give these young guys a chance to have TV. You want these young guys to have TV time, but when they get it, then we bitch about it. He shouldn't be going against the champion.
I'm saying he shouldn't go against the champion. He should build himself up to get to the champion. And if he is going to face a champion, face the lower level champion because he's a lower level, maybe mid-card guy.
In your opinion? Maybe Tony Khan, who owns the company, sees something in him. Tony Khan, who owns the company, sees something in him. Apparently, he's going to put him against the damn. Everybody has an opinion. It's what I'm trying to get across to you.
For like 2 more months, and then all of a sudden, Takeshi's going to be off TV because he's going to have another flavor of the month.
We're going to agree to disagree on this because you're going to piss me off.
But I'm right.
You think you're right. Again, everybody has. It's like an asshole. Everybody's got one.
You got anything else you want to say about Dynamite? I'll go back to it if you want. Oh, I have one more thing to say.
Samoa Joe won. He won his belt back.
Let's talk about
Wardlow's back,
which makes sense.
Powerbomb something.
But here's an opinion as well. I'm tired of AEW having gauntlets needing to be run before you're allowed to face somebody.
That I agree with you with. That's stupid.
And now doing the Garcia Guevara gauntlet to get to one of those two guys, and we're not sure which one it's going to be. Fucking tired of that shit, man.
No. He's not going to pay that. He got to go through all that to get to Jericho.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. I'm tired of it. Like
I agree with you on that one.
Especially since MJF is doing it with Bryan Danielson right now. Like it's the same fucking story.
Yep.
And you know, if Samoa Joe hadn't been busted up in hard ways on Wednesday night, I would have thought it was really funny that him and Jon Moxley both had a cut over the exact same eye, opening the show and closing the show.
I saw your thing on Facebook. You said you saw him cut himself. I didn't catch that.
Dude,
when did he bleed?
When he got sent into the corner and Hangman was outside the ring.
Was it during one of the
going like this?
Was it during the picture in picture? Because I fast forward those shits.
It was not during picture in picture. And what he ended up doing after he cut himself, he took his hand, put it down on the side, and slid it out of the ring.
Damn, I missed that.
I mean, you got a DVR, and I'm sure you can go back and watch it.
I think I erased it.
But
Let's not watch
it. Zooming in on him as he's going like this, and you know what he's doing because nothing happened to him before that to have him busted open. Now Samoa Joe goes to put that table into the ring. Darby Allin catches it with the kick, and that motherfucker caught him square. And when you look at that cut, that's a jagged fucking cut. Like he took that metal like underhang on that table right to the fucking dome. I am gonna say
that coat with the thumbtacks.
I was gonna say when looking at that, I have to give the 108-pound Darby Allin all the credit in the world for taking full advantage of what you can do in a no-holds-barred match. Very genius. And let me also say, I also like the rebuttal from Samoa Joe, which was, let me wrap my hand with my towel that I always bring down to the ring with me so I can just punch you in the face and take that fucker off of you.
My favorite is when he was trying to do the coffin drop and he couldn't get that bitch back on, so he just left it around his neck and did the coffin drop anyway, which was good storytelling because he didn't have time to waste time putting it on. He
What
was
he
giving Joe
what he
too much
should have
time.
done, what he should have done was just tried to take it and just wrap it around himself and go like that with it. Now, granted, that would have hurt, but
Probably not as much as that muscle buster on the damn plywood. I'm like, dude, if I'd agree with you then, if he'd have kicked out of that, I'd have called bullshit because even Joe sold that. Because I'm
well,
sure that wasn't much selling. I don't think that was much selling. I'm sure that shit hurt.
I'm sure it did, and realistically, that cutting up of the ring took so fucking long.
And that's what they said. He gave Joe too much of a chance to.
It took so fucking long that when Wardlow came down to start like looking Samoa Joe in the eye, they cut the TV off because they ran out of time.
Yeah, because he sure was about to power bomb somebody.
Yeah. Or they were going to come to blows, or they're going to, but they got to like here, and it's like, oh, we're out of time. Wasn't it just a couple weeks ago we saw Adam Cole come out saying that he's going to start wrestling, and then like all of a sudden he's off TV again?
Yes. Did he get hurt again? What happened?
I don't know. I think what they did was they brought him out when they knew that WWE had some big news of Cody Rhodes coming back for the Rumble, and they were like, "What do we got for that? What else can we do? We got to do something, guys. We got to do something."
Where are they going with Britt Baker and Ruby Soho? Are they going to end up teaming up? What is going on?
Well, I don't think they know what's going on with anything in the women's division. You got Jade Cargill still going up against the same 4 women to keep just padding her stats.
No, I think it's the first time she went against.
No, they said it was 13 months ago that she went up against Red Velvet or whatever his name is.
I don't think they've got anybody planned to beat her yet.
No, I think they're hoping to get Mercedes Moné, and Mercedes Moné's going, I'm not coming in to win your secondary belt.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, so they better start looking at somebody else.
They're gonna get Asuka's grandma with the orthopedic sketches in there to beat her. She's got a chance.
They don't have anybody. Like I said, all their women are wrapped up right now.
I mean, legitimately, the only 2 women in AEW that could beat her are let's say 3: Jamie Hayter, your actual women's world champion, Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa. Your last,
and that's all the
women's world champions.
And that's demotions.
And it's demotions for all 3 of them, so they won't do it unless Jade Cargill sits there and says, "I'm going after Jamie Hayter for her belt." And if she goes after her and Jamie Hayter beats her, then okay, it's not a demotion. It's trying to bring Jade Cargill up to that, right?
I mean, they might be a Ruby. I doubt it'll be. Who the hell? It's not going to be the Bunny. It's not going to be
Tay Mello. It's not going to be.
It's not going to be Anna Jay.
Not going to be the one from not Dark Order, but House of Black. It's not going to be her, Julia Hart. It's not going to be any of those women.
It's got to be Ruby. I mean,
Ruby's not even going after it.
I know. I'm saying with the women they have right now.
Like
who?
At this point, you got to do something because Jade Cargill's 50-0 happening on Dynamite this week was the most lackluster celebration for a 50th victory in a row that I've ever seen. Like, Tony Schiavone should be able to sit there and go, "It's Goldberg!" or whatever, better than he does for Jade Cargill. Like there was nothing in that made me excited about her winning her 50th match. Not to mention, she's twice the size of the woman that she beat. So, I mean, like, her 50th match should have probably been something special. And I almost think in that situation, if someone like Britt Baker, who's nursing an injury, so, I mean, that's why they're not wrestling her right now. But if her, Tony Storm, where somebody said, you know what? We've gone long enough. I think it's time that. Are you frozen? I don't know if I'm still on the air, guys. Somebody tell me whether or not I am. We just lost Tino. I think he was sitting there saying it's time for him to get off of here. So I'll tell you what. I think we're going to give him a second to hop back on, but otherwise, Tino just lost power. So I'm going to see if he wants me to finish this up. You know, like a good wrestler, I'm going to go ahead and call it on the fly. But love you too, Chris Barrett. So, all right, folks. Sorry we lost Tino at the end. Power surge in North Carolina. Gotta love it. Want to thank Adam's House Cat for the wrestling song, our number one theme song. Tino's trying to get back in, but you can follow him on Twitter at HootieFan91. You can follow him on Instagram at SCTino. You can follow the show on TikTok at Potsy and Tino. You can follow me on TikTok at Rob Potsy Pochak, on Instagram at Rob Pochak and Rob Potsy Pochak, on YouTube right here where you're watching the show, Rob Pochak, on Twitter at Pochak. Thanks so much for all the kind words and everything going on. Tino is coming back right at the end. You got anything you want to say? I've already gone through all of our TikToks and everything else.
No, I don't know what the hell that was. All of a sudden, everything just went. Now my damn clocks are flashing and everything. You're dark. I don't see you at all. But so, where are you?
So yeah, I just pretty much ran through everything else. Was saying goodbye. So
all right. Well, Michael Turner said. Tino said, "Time to go home, bro." All right, man. Yeah. That's all I got.
Anybody that's going to be at the NXT show, come out, visit us. We'll be out there. We're in we're in section 101, row A, 1, 2, and 3, I believe. We'll be out there with our buddy Jason, and we'll see you next time.
How close is that?
To what?
You said row A, 1, 2, and 3.
I'll tell you when we're off the air.
Well, I can't see you, but okay. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Thank you.